Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell. If you've been here before, I want to say thank you and welcome back. Today I have here with me one of my darling friends, Sandra. You've probably seen her on our friendship tags because by the time we are watching this, I should have posted that. So
Okay.
they should have hopefully seen you at that time.
Hello.
Well,
Nice to be here.
Yeah, good to have you.
Yeah.
We'll be friends for maybe more than 15 years.
What year is this? 2020.
Yeah.
We met like 2004.
It's been a while.
16 years now.
Yes, so it's been a while, and the friendship is, I think it's better now than when we even started.
So it's one of those situations where you say relationship has grown.
It has grown and evolved over time. So like she's so important to me now. Like if I had a challenge, she'll be one of the first people that I'll call. I'm like, oh. And then if I feel like I've also flopped on something, she'll probably be one of the first people I'll call. I'm like, hey, see, I did this thing. And then I think something that also helped our friendship is that we understand that we can agree to disagree.
Yes.
So we don't.
That's very
I'm
key.
telling you.
It's very
don't
key. That way when you're like, man, this girl is getting on my nerves. Like, how can she see my point of view?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
And then at that point, you just be like, I love her anyway. So
So we understand that we may not agree with
everything.
Yeah, with everything, but the core, I think the core.
At the core, the heart of it.
Yeah.
We know that we care about people and
about God.
About God, yes. That's one of our most very shared values. So we're not saying we care about God in terms of being perfect, but we care about God and His values. And at the end of the day, that's where we would always focus on, or where we would always turn back to.
Yeah. So even when we disagree, we try to come to a conclusion like, okay, so what does God feel about this? Yeah. Sometimes it's not on the same day that we make
it could come up weeks later,
sometimes months later.
Something on Instagram or social media will spoil the conversation again, and then we could see the other person's view. I understand where you're coming from, but this is what I feel. And we know we can move on and still be friends. I'm telling you, it's not easy. It's one of the hardest. That's the point you know that you actually love somebody. It's not more about my friend. So I think that's one of the key markers of how well our relationship has grown and evolved over time, that we can be in each other's lives. And
so I'm not just friends with her because she agrees to everything that I said, or vice versa, but then we share core values, and then we understand that I love this person and I'm interested in their welfare. I'm interested in them doing well. Like, I know of times she has prayed for me and I've prayed for her. Exactly. So like the friendship has evolved, and like I value her opinion about different topics and
likewise
issues.
Me.
Yeah. So that has really helped us. In fact, it was one of those discussions we had on social media that made us decide, you know what, maybe we should do a video about this. So this is not necessarily something that we have different opinions about. It's just something we want to discuss.
We've not really even talked about it yet.
So we saw like a tweet.
A post on Instagram.
On Instagram, where I guess for me the summary was, the man was basically saying like, you have to be careful when you're pushing somebody in your life to reach for more.
Yes.
Because more at the end of the day differs, is relative. So what is more for her may be different from me, and then I guess it is more peculiar when it comes to like a relationship. So whether you're dating the person or married to the person. So like, how do you? So I understood the man's point of view. But then I was also like a bit taken aback. So it's almost like, how do you know? So let me ask you, how do you know when to stop? How do I know, like, what crosses the line from allowing somebody to be docile, and is there like a measure to be like, okay, this person is fine to let this person be what they are? Or do you at some point feel like, oh, no, this is docility and I need to like help this person out of this? Like, is there a way to know?
To be honest, I would say it's really hard, in the sense that if we're going to look at personality types, if we've come across personality types, someone who is melancholic, or somebody who is melancholic will most likely be laid back. That is just their personality. So if you're having a regular take, like without bringing spirituality and all into it, you would say at that point it's scary. so there are many people with that personality type, and some people another type of person. So most people would have more than one personality type, and so it's able to balance out. Another aspect of it is being aware of the advantages and disadvantages of a personality type. So if somebody you're with is conscious of having that personality type and has put certain structures in place to prevent the negative aspects of their personality type from bringing them down, then that's a different case. But truly, what is healthy ambition? How much of an ambition should anybody have? Should it just be about living your everyday lives comfortably? Should it be about aiming for the upper middle class, where you're able to travel for holidays at least once a year? Should it be about having mansions? Or what really is healthy ambition? To me, it's something I've looked into before. There are moments I've questioned myself about being ambitious. Like, am I ambitious enough? To a large extent, I have my dreams. Those are my dreams. So take away the word ambition. What dreams do I have for myself? That is then what I would aspire to become or to be or to achieve or accomplish. So ambition is such a vague word at the end of the day, because ambition is basically tied to what the goals I've set for myself. So my ambition level would not necessarily equate to the level of to the ambition level of somebody who aims to be a neurosurgeon or something.
Yeah,
it will not necessarily equate to that. So I think we should be able to look at it in relation to people's overall dreams. What have they always wanted for themselves? And of course, when getting into a relationship, I just feel like it's one of those early conversations you should have. Not necessarily about, is this person ambitious, but more like, what do you want for yourself? When someone is able to clearly state what they want for themselves, then you, the other person, the other party, would be able to say, oh, okay, this is something that would take a lot of striving. When I mean striving, not in a negative way, but a lot of work and time would be invested to get to this point. And you on the other end would be able to, if you can recognize what you want to accomplish in life, you will now know how much effort you should put in. And if it's going to be something that will take away from your family or take away from your partner, when I mean take away from your partner in terms of time spent with your partner, or the kind of activities you would be able to do. So many times, some people have ambitions where they are hitting the mark. They are hitting the mark. But the truth is that they cannot even enjoy what they are gaining from that. So let's say your ambition is to be...
So you have to balance it also.
Yes. No, some people don't feel they need to balance it, I guess. They just feel like that is all there is to it. So
but then if it's affecting the lives of people in your life, does that not call for a balance? So they're not coming home on time, for example.
That's what I'm saying. For example, if at the beginning of the relationship, some people are aware. I, for one, have always said I can never marry a soldier or a doctor. I've said it for many years. Yes, because I felt like a soldier, for example, if you're called to the battlefront, or you have to be away for a certain... I can't deal. I'm a quality type, like, in short, phones will not do it for... I need you. I need to see you almost every day. But that's my kind of person. That's what I desire for myself. So I'm sure at the beginning of a relationship, if I've ever met somebody that said, oh, I want to be a soldier, I'll be like,
it should have been red flag for you.
I'm like, it's not I won't call it a red flag. I just know that we will not be compatible. Yeah, it's not going to work. His ambition will take him away.
Not align with yours.
Yes, it not even align.
But the kind of life
I want. Exactly. So the question should be, what kind of life do I want? This person I'm meeting, would their own lifestyle fit in with the kind of life I want? That's a key question. Then there's the other side of it, someone evolving when you've already gotten into the relationship. There are people who didn't know that they were going to aspire for more until they got into the relationship.
Got triggered in them.
Yes, exactly. And suddenly you realize that, I want more. And in that case, I guess that's where love, understanding, and compromise and friendship comes in. And then, especially compromise, that's the moment where you have to sit down and say, how would this really work for us? How can I then support this person? So not necessarily at your expense, but if the person who has evolved in that relationship who realizes that now this thing I want to do is going to take time away from my significant other, then they should also be willing to compromise to a certain level. It doesn't mean you wouldn't necessarily pursue your dreams. So let's say, for example, you decide you want a PhD. Maybe you might now reconsider that, okay, perhaps I would do it part-time instead of full-time, so that I can have time. So you're compromising. Your spouse or your significant other is supportive of you doing your PhD, but on the other side, to meet him halfway, you can say, okay, let me do this part-time, so I don't take, so the change is not so sudden.
Okay, so let me try and summarize some of the things I think you've said. So you have to know your personality type and hopefully your partner's personality type.
Exactly.
So it would be nice if you learn whether you're melancholic, sanguine, phlegmatic,
or choleric.
Yes, or choleric, or like know the combinations you have and what the other person has, so that you understand their personality type. Then it's important that you understand the kind of life, like if you're still single, and the kind of life you hope to live, so that it helps you decide maybe the kind of partner you want to get involved in and everything. I think it's also important that you, obviously, like we talk about the core, like you share similar cores, because at the end of the day, even if you're already married and you want to make some adjustment, it's from that core
values
that you can begin to make those adjustments and everything like that. So I think it's important that you know who you are, like what your core values are, what really drives you. Some people are driven, like we are driven by our belief in God. Some people are really driven by that. Some people are driven by maybe some kind of person that they look up to and everything like that. So if you share core values, then you can begin to almost solve issues from that core value. And then if you understand that this is the kind of person that this person is. But then I'm trying to think of somewhere that was brought to my attention when we were doing marriage counseling. And he talked about, I think, food to eat, clothes to wear, and I think shelter. And I think that for a general gauge of ambition, in my opinion, it may be important that you get to the level where you can at least feed yourself, you can clothe yourself, and then you can have a roof over your house.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so if you get to that foundation, if I find the scripture, I'll put it on the screen. So if you can at least feed yourself and your family, if you will have clothes on your back sufficient, of course you must not have all the styles in the world, or all of that. You have enough clothes, and you have shelter, over you and your family. I guess that varies now for whether you want to rent for the rest of your life or whether you want to own your own. If you have the opportunity to own, I think that would be good, so that the money that you would have otherwise paid for rent, maybe you can use it for something else. So I think that can be something you think about in general. Can I pay for my food? Can I clothe myself and my family? And can we have a roof over our head? But then beyond that, I was also thinking, because this person was not necessarily just thinking of ambition for himself. So he already knew that he was ambitious, he wanted more. It didn't seem like the person who he was with was stopping him. But I guess his own burden was that, why don't you want more? So we've answered basically from the perspective of, if I am the ambitious person, how does my partner accommodate me? Now, how do you accommodate somebody who is not ambitious? So you're ambitious now, because that's basically where he found himself in. Should I make the person reach for more?
So it still goes back to the beginning of a relationship, where you already know what that person aspires. Like I said, if somebody says, I aspire to be this in the next 10 years, then automatically you will know if the person is going, the kind of drive the person would have to get. So how far the person has already come would give you an idea of how much effort or how much ambition they needed to have come that far. And then the things they are even still aiming for, you should now say, okay, it's going to take this amount of drive. You can't quantify it per se, but you would have an idea. So basically, I think in one way, the way it works is, you could be in a relationship with somebody, you could start a relationship with somebody who is really ambitious, and then in the middle of things, the person's drive goes down. And it happens a lot to women. So should I try and solve it? It's a common issue with women, whereby many times their drive going down doesn't have anything with them losing that aspiration per se. They are mostly overwhelmed. So at that point, a partner would most likely check, how can I help this person? And that's one thing, when you cannot carry yourself, your partner should be able to carry you. So that's that moment where your partner will be like, this person aspired to be so much more. but she hasn't gotten there. She gave herself this duration or this period of time to get to this point. And at that point, then you would now ask yourself, as a partner who is conscious enough, who really looks out for their significant other, then you should be able to identify at a certain point that this person's drive has dropped. She's no longer... Many times we are selfish as human beings, whereby the person's drive has dropped. It's to our own benefit, in the sense that she has more time to do things that she doesn't necessarily have to do. Like, maybe you could even afford a maid, or you just want, selfishly, you want your wife or your husband, or it could be either way. There could be things that you could hire people to do, or you could pay for to get done. But at that moment, you selfishly want them to focus on
since it's not directly affecting you, since it's not your own ambition.
Your own ambition. So it's helping you, and then you don't even say,
you can be
babe,
more.
You said this at a certain point, this is what you wanted, what's going on, do you need me to help you in one way or the other? And like I said, I started with women because oftentimes childbearing and all that comes in between. Recently I
childbearing, age, hormones, all of that.
And all that. Even health issues that stem from hormonal issues. So recently I came across a video from Indra, the CEO of Pepsi, and she talked about how she said there's no balance. Women cannot balance it. There's no possible way. What can happen is to surround yourself with people who can help you. And so your spouse should be willing, if they recognize the ambition in you and if they accepted it. Most times it's more convenient for your spouse to accept it from the beginning stage. But let's say it comes up in the middle of marriage and you've gotten to... So your spouse should be somebody who doesn't...
have a conversation.
Not just willing to have a conversation. If he cares, I just feel like it just comes from caring naturally. Your wife now has an ambition, so you should be accommodating. And if it's accommodating, that means you'll be able to agree to you getting external help apart from both of you. Why I say that is because I know of a woman who at the time owned a shop. Her husband funded the opening of the store and everything, but he insisted that they were not going to have any housemaid or helper or anything. And they had 2 daughters who used to go to school, and then the husband would insist that when the daughters close from school, she has to close the shop. So her business was dropping. She had to close the shop. She had to do everything, pick the girls from school herself, take them home, do what she needs to do. The girls had to follow her everywhere. So basically, in one area, he used to castigate her for not doing well enough in her business, but he couldn't also see that all the other things she had to deal with by herself would most likely, like, imagine closing your business for toddlers. What time does school close?
Like 12 to.
And then you close your business at the middle of the day, when business would most likely now start booming. You now close at the middle of the day to do other running around. Then your same husband is still saying you're not doing well in your business. Why can't you meet your rent? That's after the initial investment he made. Why can't you meet your rent and all that? So that's an example. And it could go the other way around, where a man is committed in one way or the other. So men are actually really homely. So you have wives who would say, why are you not like other men? Why are you not going out there? Why are you not hustling? So that's why understand from the beginning what you want. Because there are some women who want men who come home every day, who are more hands-on with raising the family, with being at home, than being out there hustling every day. Another aspect we could also look at is negative drive.
When it's too much?
No, not when it's too much. When the wrong things drive you.
Okay.
So some people are driven by fear of... It could be childhood trauma, or maybe...
Or what they experience. Yeah, basically childhood trauma, maybe they didn't have so much, so it's almost like at any cost.
Exactly, so at any cost. And most times when you have your ambition is driven from fear, you would most likely compromise even standards. Morals, you will compromise those things.
Probably your health too.
Yes,
because you wouldn't know when to sleep, when to eat, and all of those.
Exactly, when to take a back seat. So I think at the end of the day, as human beings, we tend to go either way. So you just make sure that at the end of the day, you're able to consciously... This thing is about consciousness, about yourself, about your tendencies, about even your partner's tendencies. Sometimes they are not aware that they've gone astray. So that consciousness is a shared consciousness between you and your partner. So that way you're helping each other when one person is going off board and the other person... So it's like a yin-yang situation where you balance each other out and all that. So negative drive is negative drive. Everybody should be able to recognize when they are driven by negative. Sometimes it's about envy. You see your friend and you're just envious that your friend has gotten to a certain level in life, and that is what now drives your actions. You want to make money by all means and all that. Sometimes is peer pressure. Peer pressure, where men face it because
social media pressure too these days.
Yeah, social media,
this person looks like that,
or peers, or it all falls almost within the same
pressure,
external pressures. So it could be from family saying, you're man enough now, you should. And of course things are harder now for especially men, knowing that they have to be breadwinners. Not all men will subscribe to that in this current age, but some men still stand by that, and so that pressure of having to do whatever they need to do to be breadwinners for them, meaning like they take care of everything, bills and all that. There's some men that still think that way. And I think in this generation, women and men are like, we should understand that I think at the end of the day, balance things out.
In fact, I think the whole idea of balancing probably even existed
way
before, because if you look at the Proverbs 31 woman, she was doing something. She may not necessarily have been doing it far from the house. I'll try and read Proverbs 31 again, but I know that she was doing things. So she knows maybe she was knitting or like basically doing different things to help herself and the family. So I think women always had a role in any way to play in helping the family. Just that now maybe it's more, in an office setting and that kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
But then what I was
traditional roles.
Not necessarily traditional roles. What I was thinking of is for the partner who is considered docile. I hope that we understand that docile can be relative, because somebody may consider somebody else docile, but somebody else may say, but she's stable. She, like in this case, the lady had the boutique. To me, that's not a docile person. Somebody who has, tried their best and gotten to the extent of owning like a boutique. That's somebody who has, maybe that person just wants the day-to-day runnings for their life. They don't necessarily want to, or maybe they want to go for vacation, but not at the expense of their mental health and their peace of mind and everything like that. So I think that if you come, you have to understand what the basic is for you. Like we've talked now, what is basic for us would be like food, clothing, shelter. So once you have that, understand that everything extra is extra. So you have to, I think at that point, you have to begin to understand if you are damaging your relationship by insisting on more, or if you're helping yourself and the relationship. I think that we probably also should be willing to understand that as far as the partner allows you to be ambitious, maybe you should let them be who they are. As far as they are not below, what you have set for the basic standard, the person is able to provide, to a certain extent, whether they're male or female, people have the basic things that you need. It's not a case of where maybe there's no food in the house and the person just feels that they don't want to do anything. That's a different matter. Maybe counseling would help in that kind of situation. But then if there are the basic things that are available in the family, you have to understand that we need to encourage the person rather than guilt the person to feel like they're not ambitious enough. And then maybe what you need is for the person to help you be ambitious. So if the person is saying that I want to take the back stance, so I want to sit back and I don't want to be too forward in achievement or ambition, all of that. As far as the person is willing to help you, so don't worry, I'll cater to this so that you can go out and do this and all of that. I think you should also consider that option. So at the end of the day, to understand what do we want as a basic foundation for ourselves, and if you're a married person or planning to get married, for your family. And I think funny enough, it may also be interesting for friendships too. So to understand in friendship, what is enough? What do I think we should both have individually?
Because sometimes people tend to push or bring, so people who have gone higher tend to cut off
people who seem lower.
And
then sometimes also I want
it could be vice versa.
It could be vice versa in the sense that the people who are lower, either they feel inferior.
Yes.
But then the other thing, sometimes people who are considered lower may become so if you're not ambitious, also you shouldn't drain out the other person. Do you understand? So if you're not trying strive for more. Don't
recognize your relationships generally. And another thing, I think people should apply the project management cycle to their relationships, where you come back and say, okay, let's evaluate this thing. Let's evaluate what we are doing. Are we okay with this strategy? Are we okay with where we are? Do you want? You could ask your partner, okay, it's been a year since you did this, or we've been married for a year, or we've been friends for a year. So have you thought about more? Do you want more, or do you want to take it more?
Like at times we also encourage each other when it comes to our finances and everything like that. But it's never been a case of guilting the other person.
Like we just say these opportunities are available. Do you think it's something you want to try?
Yeah.
And then we have a discussion about the pros and the cons, and somebody will just be like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
And we leave it at that.
Or sometimes, I mean, show her something, like recently I showed her something, and then
I was like,
she was able to inform me that it was a problem area, and then I let it go. So, but I think that if I understand what she wants to be, so I can now know where pushing ends. So I can know that, okay, I've not done enough to push, because I noticed that I am that kind of person. Actually, I'm very ambitious and I like being pushed. Not pushed in a guilt way, but being encouraged to do more. Being maybe somebody wakes me up, somebody holds me accountable. So I like to be pushed, But I still want people to understand whatever my limitations are. So luckily she knows whatever pressures I have gone through. So she knows, okay, yes, this person wants to be more, but this is not the time, or something like that. So I also know that she's an ambitious, person and everything like that.
Kind of situation. Like, nobody is going to say, oh, but you said you wanted to do this. Yeah. Why haven't you? Like, you're not going to make you feel guilty. Because what if at that moment something else is going on that cannot permit you to go further?
For that ambition,
So it's a gentle encouragement. Sometimes it's more or less like even helping with resources, like, oh, I have this information, maybe this is something you might want, or something.
Yeah, you could just send a message, like, oh, I saw this, and
I saw this, and I remember you wanted to do this.
Yeah.
And at that moment, if the person had said something, that simple sharing of resource could just spur the person back up and like, oh yeah, let me try this again. So at the end of the day, I think as human beings, generally, we should understand whoever is in our lives, and we should try. And parents, this applies to you as well. Pressure on your kids to be, or one child to be like the other child, or your kids to be like your neighbor's child or your cousin's child. Please understand, personalities will differ. The environment will differ.
Their calling
would differ, and all that. All you need to do at the very first instance is to provide all the support you can.
This reminds me of, sorry to cut you, reminds me of Elizabeth and Mary in the Bible. I think we look at both of them as Christian role models, but you see that their paths were different. Elizabeth will become pregnant much later in life, while Mary will become pregnant, before she got married. So these people will have different paths in life, but it did not mean that they were not Christians. Or when you look at people like Abraham,
even a good story would be what's the two sisters, Martha and Mary. To be honest, who picked offense because she was in the kitchen?
Martha was in the kitchen and picked offense, and Mary was not.
But sitting. So you understand, Jesus at that point said, Mary
is what is most important.
Yes, Mary picked the better thing at that time. So, but if you could look at the story in another way, it doesn't necessarily. And Jesus didn't say what Martha was doing was wrong in terms of her being in the kitchen, because it was an act of service, which also translates to love. But she was trying to guilt Mary into joining her. So many times as women, we tend to do that with our significant others, men in our lives.
Even with our friends. We tend to think that if this lady did not come out this time with a tray, is she a good wife? Maybe like to serve her husband. Or if this lady is married at a certain age, is everything okay
with her and all that. You now tend to project certain perceptions on that person because you feel like they should have done certain things at certain times. So sometimes I guess everybody should just stick with what is suitable for them at that point. But the key thing is also communicating that. So when somebody, and don't pick offense if somebody doesn't understand that you don't have drive for a certain thing. So I think it's an opportunity to educate and say,
this is why I am
communicate.
Mine is, as far as your ambition is not making you sub-dry. So I can say, I don't want to be too ambitious. I just want to maybe do a 9 to 5 regardless of how much I earn. If that's what I want to do, well and good. As far as I'm not sapping from all of my family and friends, always trying to give me now, please now, or say, this son was very wicked. You want 915 naira, she couldn't give me.
Exactly.
Do you understand? So
as far as you're not being a pest.
As far
as you're not being a pest.
If you have chosen a path and you're not draining other people.
Exactly. Then that's okay. So live within your means. If you've decided that it's 9 to 5 you want to do, don't envy other people who have gotten more.
Or think that they're bad people.
Yes, because they're not spending on you. Because, like, excuse me, you're not entitled to anybody's money or hard work or
people
effort.
People will choose who they want to be.
Yes. So maybe you could be entitled a bit when you're in a marriage, but there are limits to it as well. Like, excuse me.
You don't want to drain the other person too so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So either way, I think.
By the way, I just want to say that I'm so excited that we're doing this, because as we're talking, I'm like, there are many times, especially because I've been blogging for years on and off. There are many times I've thought of. Remember one time we talked about us even blogging some of our conversations because they were very interesting. Yeah. And so to be able to sit down here and do this, I'm like, we did it. Probably taken us like 10 years to get here. No, not 10 years. This is like 5 years I've been blogging. Maybe like 5 years to get here.
But I'm glad to be here, and I really hope we've been able to share insights that will get you thinking. It's not really like a solution thing. Just
we don't claim to like know it all.
Yeah, we are not even counselors professionally. Okay, maybe I studied counseling,
sort of,
but
on the path.
Yeah, but at the same time, it just spoil you to think, have balanced thoughts, and approach your relationships with anybody. It's not just about marriage.
Not just about
marriage, friendships, parents,
even
colleagues at work as well. No, to a certain extent, it depends. So if it's team, if it's let me say if it's teams. If your workplace is kind of workplace that encourages working in teams,
you want to know them.
So many times, personally, I can say it's annoying when I can do a certain task and then other people can't do what I can do. So many times the focus should actually be on the expertise, what can the other person do. It makes teamwork go faster than when you're focused on the fact that I can do this and they're not doing it. Yeah, but at the same, so that's where there's a challenge and you want to pressure your colleague. Why can't you do this when I can do it? But at the same time, the work scenario is quite still different.
Yeah, you still have to be careful there because you don't really know the person. So don't just go and
let's say you know the person. At work, because you're not the only, you have supervisors and all that. So you yourself, if you're not showing enough that you can do enough, you most likely would miss out on promotions and all that. And opportunities. So the person who performs better in a team, as much as it's teamwork, trust me, there's somebody who can see. So there's somebody who can see that another person
genuine ambition
is doing better. No, not the eye service. So the supervisors and other people, even team members, would see that this is the person that can do the work really well. So at the end of the day, you would cheat yourself out of opportunities if it's not just about then the basics. Of the skills needed to get something done. Or
I think that's basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, basic. Either way, there should be a basic
marriage, dating. There should be a basic and
foundation or threshold.
The basic that's necessary for that relationship. If it's marriage, if it's friendship, if it's work, the basic that is necessary, then build from there. Because for me, I think that if you're able to reach a certain level of achievement, whether it's in your marriage, you're able to have like a very enjoyable marriage, you can teach people and encourage people. If you're able to have like a really successful career, you can encourage people. And to me, encouraging and teaching people is so important, as a person. And even in Christendom, you hear that the older wives were told, for example, to teach the younger one. So if you have not learned to refine and improve, where you are at, then it becomes sometimes a bit harder to teach the people that come in. And sometimes if you aspire to something, then you can easily more help the ones coming behind you than to just have stories that touch. Okay, so we're basically done, but there will be part 2 of our discussion. It will be another topic, slightly different.
And so we've more or less like come down to the point where we're now talking about how to impact other people with your experience. So
what are our suggestions are?
Yes, what our suggestions are. So I was glad to be here. I know she's really, really happy.
I'm so happy.
She's the guy who's like, Sandra, why don't we do girly things? Let's go on a date together. Let's do a photo shoot together. This kind of thing.
Definitely.
I know we will do it eventually. She's been on my neck. So yes, so we've kicked this one off the bucket list.
So please, if you got to this part of the video and you've not yet subscribed, why? Please subscribe.
I really hope. Please feedback.
Actually, once you hear,
if you really enjoyed it, we'll do more.
With us, let us know.
And if you enjoyed this, not just even agree with us, but if you enjoyed this conversation, we will do more.
And if you have suggestions on where you think people should balance ambition in their relationship, I think you should leave that too.
Yeah, so she has a blog post and she could put together your thoughts as well, and she would put it there. That would be awesome.
So thank you.
Bye.